I'm gonna make a video on um um let's make a video on why Hillary Clinton failed. It wasn't even close. I mean, it was close, but it wasn't Al Gore close in 2000. So let's try to explain what Al Gore did that was a lot better. Al Gore, he I actually haven't done any research really with the campaign, so um, I'm not going to. Also, I don't really know much about the guy, so um, what I know, I know that if you're going to have somebody for president that just says a few things carelessly, especially the comments on the death of Osama bin Laden, that type of person, um, it's, I don't know, like, I just couldn't imagine putting someone like that in prison because, um, it's just, you know, no, I don't know anything about Al Gore, what type of person he is. I just know that, I watched documentary presented, but I don't know what he's like when he's younger. Um, on the other hand, I totally understand what Hillary Clinton would be like when she's younger. Um, so, for most part, Al Gore, strikes me when I'm watching his presentation of the subjects um, of his movement, his environmental movement, is it comes across as um, very informative. I think he'd be a great professor. I don't know if he was ever a professor. I haven't read his biography yet. Um, so he may as well have been a professor. He's rather um not someone who wants to point out things like, oh well, he doesn't he goes on flights, he's a fossil. It doesn't really work that way. It's just on the other hand, it does the documentary presentation was amazing. He really did present the content in a way that doesn't make you want to fall asleep. Um, I'm serious. Like, you really just know how to present the subject. Even it doesn't present any difficult concepts. The concepts are not that hard to. They're not like college level. They're not a college level course subject. It's just it's just it doesn't really have that many overlaps, so you can't just watch a documentary and expect to get a passing grade on an exam. Um, the, it does, you know. So, putting someone like that in prison, um, if he was president, I could understand. I could understand why people would vote for him. It was very close. It was the closest election in U.S. history, 2000. So it is understandable, um, because someone who can't answer a question that means just like, oh, well, there's an obvious contradiction, and you can't answer that. I can understand why someone would vote for him for president. It just it's like someone who cannot you know answer a question like that. Yeah, now that you think about it, Al Gore and Hillary Clinton, they both, they both speak a certain way. It's very unusual. Um, it's but what's the difference between someone who can't answer a question like that and someone who, um, well, the obvious difference is their spouses. Um, Hillary Clinton presidency would be the reversal of the 90s, almost literally. Um, so that's probably not gonna happen. I just couldn't imagine anyone who can't answer that. It's pretty obvious that the reversal of the 90s would never happen, and it's obvious that it was close at all. You know, the reason is that there's a lot of people in the Midwest that understand the concept of a mutation. A mutation is basically the idea that something can change. Um, it's just it's the idea that a person can change. Um, it is a basic concept of the subject of biology, and actually it does explain the environmental movement quite. Um, that is a concept that does get presented in Professor Kaufman's lecture about that. It would be ecology or environmental science. The professor would have to lecture that eventually. Um, so we could clearly see that for whatever reason, the concept of a mutation just doesn't register to the voters there, and actually the entire Democratic Party, regardless, and for some odd reason, even though she won the popular vote by a significant margin, they just couldn't get over them. And a mutation isn't that hard to explain. I just like I don't know, maybe the teachers didn't explain it. It was in the curriculum. Just got ignored, and then by the time that the results got in, anyway, we clearly see that. We can clearly see. Now I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't discussed debates, I haven't discussed campaign financing. I totally skipped those topics. The reason I skipped those topics is because we don't actually explain. Um, um, I just wanted to get the basic idea of why Al Gore was close and Hillary Clinton not so close. And I'm like, now, if Hillary Clinton was close like Al Gore, most people wouldn't really care. It'd be like, you know, both very excellent. You know. Now, Al Gore was close because he knew how to. He just ran a brilliant campaign. He's very brilliant. He used an amazing strategy and just made a tiny mistake. And most people can probably find closure from that. I mean, notice the videos that were uploaded recently. I have discussed closure a bunch of times. But the thing with closure is that the closure is a concept that gets presented when often refers to following some tragedy. Like school shootings or major accidents, natural disasters. Okay, Katrina comes in mind. It was like a really big disaster. So basically, basically, what made Al Gore far more successful was that he just knew how to run the campaign. I mean, like, he had experience from somebody who actually successfully, and like, well, Clinton had experience too. What's the difference? Like, they both, like, Clinton was, both Hillary Clinton and Al Gore were in the same thing. I'm like, what's the difference? I'm not sure what the difference is. It's just, I suppose Al Gore would have probably. The thing is, like, he was focusing on the and I'm like, I don't know, I can't really understand that. It got me thinking that maybe the reason why Clinton lost is because she didn't understand like I mean Al Gore at least tried to put some effort in understanding the fringe voters and the where live in the country or whatever. It was very no enough. And I think I, but Clinton just did not get to that point, which is fine. Like the outcome is the same for both elections. It's just um, but like Al Gore just that's something that can't really be replicated. Al Gore just he understood the voters in the Midwest, the Republicans, the swing voters, whatever you call it, the undecided vote. He really understood. He understood, what they want. He want, he didn't. He understood that they wanted somebody who had principle, who doesn't have contradiction. Can't, like that is something that they understood. They just and then the votes came, and it was the closest election in U.S. history.